everybody. Welcome to the Hidden Gems podcast. And this is a show where we like to talk about a streaming service and the hidden gems you can find on there. And today's going to be really fun, something we've done a couple times, but it's a little bit different than our normal weekly episode. But looking forward to it as always. I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Ryan is here.
Hey, Rachel, it's great to be back with you once again. I'm glad to hear your trip to South by Southwest. It sounded like it was a great success.
Yeah, I was a little bit nervous because I got there about 2 days after a lot of my friends, fellow critics who were out there, and they had kind of negative experiences that first weekend. Long lines, it took 3 hours to get their badges, 90 minutes just to get into a movie, things like that. And so I was like, oh no, this is going to be another bad trip because I just had kind of a mess of a trip in February. But to my pleasant surprise, I think kind of showing up late actually proved in my advantage because I didn't have to wait long at a line at all for my badge, and I was able to get into everything basically that I wanted to. I didn't really see anything at the Paramount, which is the one that got a lot of complaints because it's old theater and there's seats where you can't even see the screen and long lines and uncomfortable chairs and all of that. I was like, no, thank you. So I ended up seeing 12 movies, well, 11 including Shazam, which I kind of considered as part of the experience because I went to a critic screening there for that. So I saw 12 movies total during the week, and I had really great experiences. There were fun panels. I didn't really see anything that I hated, so that's always good. There's some things that were a little boring, some things that were a little overlong, but nothing that was like miserable. So I take that as a win.
How is it possible to have a seat in a theater and not be able to see the screen? That doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense to me.
because it's an old theater. And yeah, I guess just my friend sent me her view, and there were, I mean, she seemed like she had sort of tall people in front of her, so that's part of it. But like, she was in kind of a an aisle sort of area, and you had to kind of look over in order to even be able to see anything. And I guess you go to one of those old theaters for sort of the vintage charm of it all. But I think after like maybe one screening like that would be enough for me because I want to be able to really see the screen and not be in a super uncomfortable chair. So I didn't do anything. I didn't really do anything in downtown Austin except for getting my badge, and everything else was in this, I guess, in the suburbs, you'd say. I went to the Alamo Draft House a bunch of times. I went to a really cool theater called the Austin Film Society. And I guess this is the theater that, I don't know if it's owned by Richard Linklater, but it's like very heavily supported by Linklater. So it's kind of considered Richard Linklater's theater. And he's, I guess, very passionate about the Austin Film Society and everything. And that was a great theater. It was really fun. Great panel. I enjoyed that. I saw a movie called Peak Season there, and I really enjoyed that one. That was good. And then I also saw movies at a little tiny theater called Violet Crown. That I was there the whole day on Tuesday, so that was fun. See 3 movies there. And I saw some movies at a theater called the Zach Theater, which is like a Broadway type theater that they used for this festival. And that was fun. And what else? I'm trying to remember. But then I got to cover a red carpet, which was super cool. It was I never, I mean, I had done on for Christmas Con, I had covered, I guess, red carpet there, but I never done like a movie premiere. So this was a cool experience to have. And I was surprised because I had like submitted basically to everything that I could, and I didn't get accepted for anything except for this one. And it's a series called Small Light, and I'm going to be having coverage. It doesn't come out until the end of April, but I'm going to be having coverage that I took on the channel and everything. But I was just really surprised there wasn't more coverage, other people interested. And when I was talking with some of the other reporters, they were like, "Oh, it's National G," because I guess it's a National Geographic series. But it's about Meep Guys, the woman who helped hide Anne Frank and the Frank family. And that seemed really interesting to me. And and being on like Disney Plus as opposed to one of these indie films, or hardly is anybody even going to see them. And to me, it was like, oh, this was really cool. I was stoked to get picked for this one, for Disney Plus. I thought that was so. I was surprised that there were people who were like, National Geographic.
I mean, you've literally reviewed almost everything Disney's ever put out, so I'm kind
Yeah,
of surprised that they don't invite you to more of this stuff.
yeah, I guess that's true. But I don't know. I was just surprised the other people's attitude about it. That this was seen as like, eh. But I was stoked. I thought it was really cool, and it was a cool experience because I was at the end because I had told them I didn't know if I would have video because I thought, how can I do that by myself? Like do the video and the audio, but I ended up being able to do it. And so I told them I didn't know if I would have video, so they put me at the end of the carpet because it was a really small red carpet. It was like, I don't know, uh like 3 yards or something like that. It was short. Anyway, and so the people come up to me and I'd ask them questions about like, what do you hope people take away from this project? What did you learn from playing Anne or whatever character? Was it hard doing the casting? These kind of questions. And I there were some people behind me. There were probably 5, 6 people, part of the production, maybe like producers or someone like that were behind me, and they were listening to kind of everything I was saying. And there was a radio guy right next to me. And it was just really cool that one of the producers, he comes up to me and he says, I this you sound like you've been doing this a long time. And I was like, no, this is my first time I have ever done this. And he was like, wow, you ask really good questions.
You should
So
have you should have said, "Oh yeah, it's my seventh or eighth time. I'm a pro. Just ask anyone."
so that made me feel really good. That was really nice, I thought. And the radio guy was very complimentary as well, of me. So I thought that was very nice and very cool. And I enjoyed getting to talk to everybody. And like I said, I'll have the video up with everything in a couple of weeks, but it was just a neat experience to have. So yeah, the whole thing, I ended up being able to see a bunch of my friends that were either there for the festival or just happened to live in Texas. So that was cool. And ended up being a great experience. So yeah. So how are you doing?
Doing good. I'm still outside of movie stuff. I'm still preparing to run a 10K this year. I've zeroed in
Nice.
on the one I'm going to do. It's going to be Halloween themed because
Ah,
because of course I'm going to do a Halloween themed 10K. Going to be in DeLand, Florida, which is about 15-ish minutes away from where I live. It's going to be near a beach, which is going to be fun. I think it's called like the Zombie 10K. I'd have to look it
oh,
up, but it's Halloween themed, and so that's been the thing I'm shooting for. I've set a long-term goal of doing an Ironman one day, and I've been looking at what I would have to do to start training for that, but that's like years down the road. But I've started to kind of set long-term expectations for myself because I've got the swimming part down. I've definitely got the running part down. The bike part, I'd have to get back on the
mm,
horse on that one because I fell off of that.
yeah.
And and it would be rigorous, but I feel like I can do it.
Hmm. Yeah, that would be great. When would that be? You doing the triathlon?
It again, it'd be like years down the road. I'm
Mm.
still the 10K is going to be this October, but like Ironman's like way off in the
Oh,
distance.
Iron Man.
So
Yeah.
I'm just preparing mentally now to be like, all right, I've set my mind to it and I'm going to go ahead and do it.
You could do just like a smaller triathlon
Yeah.
because it's just like a test run, because they usually don't have too long of biking and swimming. It's usually more. We kind of sometimes joke with the triathletes because like sometimes the swimming will be unbelievably short, like 100 meters or something like that. You're just like, wow.
Yeah,
Not really the same.
I know at the Daytona Speedway there is a not a full Ironman, but a regular triathlon, and the swimming is in Lake Lloyd, which for those of you who are not familiar with Daytona, Lake Lloyd was a man-made lake that was built and dug and filled when the Speedway was built. And it's
Oh,
notoriously pretty dirty. So
uh,
I don't know if I can work my way up to swim in that place, but I guess if I
yeah.
want to do it, then I'm gonna have to.
Well, it's a good thing. I mean, if you swim the Great Salt Lake, you can swim in anything.
Yeah, that's a
Uh,
good point too, is I had like bugs crawling over me by the end. It was a time. That's all I'll say. But yeah, that's super long term. Channel's going
cool.
good. I'm gonna be in a movie trivia tournament coming up, which
Ah,
I'll have more information on that because this channel that does it, Multiplex Movie Entertainment, they record way in advance. So I'm gonna have more information on that when I know it. But my first matchup is coming up very soon. He's the guy I'm playing against is a real shark. So I've got one match that's going to be coming up in like next week. So that hasn't happened yet as of this recording, but it's coming up. The guy that I'm going to be facing next, he's a killer. Like I've seen a lot of his matches and I'm just like, okay, I'm it's going to
you're
be
good
like
at trivia, though. You're very good.
I mean,
So,
it's going to be like in PBR. I just got to hold on for 8 seconds. If I hold on for 8 seconds, then I'll be fine.
yeah,
But regardless, I'm going in to have fun. It's going to be a great time. So I'm looking
cool.
forward to and preparing for that because I'm in it to have fun, but I do prepare and I actually do read a lot of stuff and brush up a lot of stuff because my Oscars trivia is the drizzling craps. So I got to brush up on that
Oh,
among other things. So it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. But when I know something about it, I'll let you all know so you can go
okay.
give the channel a subscribe because they're a really cool channel called
Yeah,
Multiplex Movie Entertainment.
cool. Very cool. Well, why don't you tell everybody what we're doing today for Hidden Gems?
So I'm in the electric or not the electric chair, but I'm in the chair, so to speak. I was given five of your recommendations, and this is my reviews slash thoughts on all of them. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, Rachel, you got really good taste because
Oh,
go
thanks.
I liked pretty much all of the things that you chose for me. And it was rather interesting this time around because the initial list you gave me, two or three of them I couldn't find on the services
Mm.
that were on there. I guess they were taken down. So I had to kind of shuffle around some, but what I ended up watching, I really enjoyed all of it.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to not only give you romantic comedies or animation. I was trying to give kind of a variety of films on there, and then I ended up picking some of the same ones I'd already given to you because I guess I just those are the ones I think of first for you. But yeah, it seemed like we came up with a fun eclectic list,
Yeah,
which was my goal.
very
Yeah, that was
diverse
my
in
goal.
terms of subject matter.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good. And these can be on a variety of streaming services. Why don't we dive in? Let's talk about it. What was the first one that you watched?
So the first one you gave me was Anna and the Apocalypse. This was from 2017. You've been you've been recommending this one to me for a very long time, and I finally saw this. It's on Tubi. It's not on Tubi for much longer, so should give you all a friendly warning on that. But
It looks like it's on Pluto. I don't know if also for a short time, I don't know, but at least according to Google, it's on Pluto as well right
yeah,
now.
I know I saw it on Tubi because I distinctly remember that was on the Tubi episode, so that
Hmm.
was where I got that from. But
Oh, good.
this movie is really good. I said
Yes.
in my Twitter review, I said in my little blurb, it was basically like this movie is if Shaun of the Dead were directed by Andrew Lloyd Webber, because it's a
Yeah.
musical, it's a Christmas movie, so I know why you love it so much. And it's got zombies, and kind of like
Yeah.
Shaun of the Dead, Anna and the Apocalypse kind of pokes fun at zombie movie cliches. And I swear there were a couple of subtle references to George A. Romero in there somewhere, especially one of the musical sequences taking place in a graveyard, which is where the first Night of the Living Dead, like
Yes.
the first scene started, which I thought that was a very nice Easter egg. I liked the cast.
True.
I hated the dude with the beard, the dean, and
Yeah, the
I get that that was the
schoolmaster.
idea, but he just had go away he with me. Like, get away from me, you. The
There
power
was
goes.
probably too much of him. We could have gotten a little bit less, but I am legitimately surprised that this hasn't gained kind of cult status yet. It just seems so perfect for something like that. And I guess that just has to be sort of organic, but it being a Christmas movie, it being the songs are so catchy. It just feels like something that people will watch every year during the holidays, to watch something different, something kind of a little bit darker, obviously, for the holidays. And I don't know, it just seems to have all the ingredients to be like a cult classic, but it hasn't really gotten there yet.
I think, and this is just my theory, this movie came out in 2017, kind of on the tail end of zombie fever, like tail end of prime Walking Dead, prime like zombie-ish media where there
Hmm.
was a lot of zombie-related stuff out there, like Warm Bodies and World War Z. There was just a lot of zombie movies and TV shows out there. So it kind of missed the boat a little bit.
Mm,
Again,
that's a good point.
I'm spitballing here, so
That's a good point.
I should add that caveat, but I definitely agree with you. I think give it time, give it a few more years. I think it will be discovered more, and
Hmm.
I think that it will get more love as the years go on.
What do you think of the songs?
I love the songs.
Yeah.
I thought they were very good. I like I liked all of them, honestly. I think this holds up as a musical. I could see if they do something on Broadway, I could see it catching on.
Hmm. Me too. Yeah, I really liked the songs. And I was legit surprised at especially one, I won't spoil it, but especially one person who gets turned. I was like, oh, I was not expecting this particular person to get turned. Um, I don't know, I thought it was kind of bold in the people that got turned into zombies, that got bitten.
Is he or she wearing a Christmas sweater?
Yes.
Okay, I know
Yeah,
the
I
one you're
thought that
talking.
I thought that he or she would make it out. It just seemed like that character was destined for this kind of happy ending. Um, and so I was like, oh, whoa, I was shocked with quite a bit of time left actually too. So that was very surprising to me.
Definitely came out
Really?
of nowhere, and
Yeah.
there's actually a couple parts where I was like, they definitely copy and pasted from Shaun of the Dead, especially, and again, I won't spoil it too much, but there's a scene involving a certain family member of one of the characters, and it's pretty rough, kind of similar to what happens in Shaun of the Dead. And
Yeah,
I'm
I could
not
see that.
complaining. I'm just pointing out that I've seen Shaun of the Dead so much that I can kind of my brain
Hmm.
is primed to see these things. So it's not the
Well,
movie's fault. It's just me.
and I heard some people say, oh, people were acting unreasonable, like particularly the scene where they the one girl goes back to get her phone in this room with the zombies. Like it's not reasonable.
It's
I
a
understand
zombie
that.
apocalypse. Like what are you like logic has gone completely out the window. It's gone the way of the dodo.
Right.
Like what do
And
you
you're talking about a
expect?
teenager and yeah, a scene where you're not necessarily going to be acting the most logical. So I didn't and I also thought that was sort of poking fun at those tropes, in a way too, of in horror movies when the the final girls, go into the haunted house back and so I thought there was a little bit of tongue in cheek in that as well. But yeah, I love Hollywood Ending. I think that is such a great sequence. And then I can't remember the song, But the whole song when the in the beginning when she's walking through her neighborhood and doesn't notice um that the entire that everything's that there's zombies everywhere.
Yes, I know the one. I know the
I
exact
can
one
think
you're
of
talking about.
yeah, yeah, it's life something. I can think of it. But I'm so glad you liked it. Yeah. It's it it's one of those ones that's it's I think because it is so unique, it's a little bit hard to know what people will think about it. And but I sure enjoyed it, especially, with all the Christmas movies that I see. It's nice to have a couple things that are just totally different.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, very good. So if you were going to give this a grade 1 to 5, what would you give it?
I'd give this one a 4. Like,
Mm,
I might be
yeah,
slightly generous, but at the same time, like it combines many things and subgenres that I love. So,
yeah.
so I'm sticking to it.
And I think this lead Ella Hunt, I think she has a ton of potential. I thought she was really good, and I guess I'm looking to see here what she's done after this. Let's see here. She was in a movie called Master that I saw at Sundance. Um, Lady Chatterley's lover. Uh, and then Dickinson. She was in Dickinson, the show, which I heard good things about. So she's a good little young actress, I would say. So, all right. Well, what is the next one that you had?
So my next one that you gave to me was from just this past year. It's called Montana Story. And I had actually been itching to see this one because when I saw the trailer, I believe it was in front of Marcel the Shell with shoes on. When I
Yeah.
saw the trailer for this, I'm like, it's probably not going to come to my area, but if it does, I'm going to see it. And unfortunately, it didn't come to my area. But it was on Canopy, and I watched it. And I think that this is a severely underrated movie from last year, starring Haley Lou Richardson, who is great as always, and Owen Teague, who is really good in this. And when I said in my Twitter review, I hope he gets more work going forward. A friend of mine who runs the Movie Emporium channel, he actually said that he's going to be the lead in Wes Ball's Planet of the Apes movie for 20th Century Studios. So good to see that he's going to be in more stuff going forward because he was really good. I
Mhm.
love how I love the look of this movie. I love the state of Montana just in general, how beautiful it looks. But really, for how big it looks, the story's actually kind of small. It's about sibling drama. I don't have
Mhm.
siblings. I always wanted them, but I never had them. However, most of my friends have had siblings, and I've seen some of the tension that can arise from it in certain contexts. And in the context of these two siblings, their father was kind of abusive, and so it's just a case of they're back to deal with everything, the fallout, but it's opening doors that they have closed and have tried to keep closed for a long time. So there's a nice dynamic of trying to retain their sanity while also trying to rectify what they left behind. I thought it was all handled very well. And I think this director is, I'm gonna find the name of the director, Scott McGee and David Siegel. I hope they do more after this because I think they're very talented.
Mhm. Yeah, I saw this as part of the Toronto International Film Festival, their virtual festival they did in 2021. So that was really cool. And yeah, I was really impressed by it. And it is a little bit of a slow burn, I would say. So you have to be able to kind of handle that. But it is beautiful. The whole thing was actually shot in Montana. This is not like Vancouver pretending to be Montana. This is real. And it is about this brother and sister relationship. And I definitely bonded with that because I've had an up and down relationship with my older brother over the years. And so it definitely is sometimes a challenge. And there's six of us total. So I'm the reverse of you. I'm from a really big family and it can be intense. And also her sort of dealing with the complex feelings about her father and her dealing with some forgiveness. I also thought the person who played the nurse was also really good. The caretaker of her father was good. Um, and I said in my review, I said Montana Story was shot on 35 millimeter film, which you can see in the beautiful Montana mountain vistas. And so I think that's the stunning cinematography is really impressive.
Yeah, the best scene of the movie is that scene when the power goes out. I have a feeling
Hmm.
you know the one I'm talking about. And
Yep.
then Haley Lu's character just kind of loses it and just the biggest stuff, the one they've been teasing about, just it just all just goes out into the open
Hmm.
and I'm a sucker for scenes like that where they've been dancing around it, but then they just
Yeah.
dive into the heat of the matter. It's a, it's kind of like that. It's funny we bring up 12 Angry Men earlier. The scene in 12 Angry Men where Henry Fonda finally calls out Lee J. Cobb for exactly what he is. Like he doesn't care about the facts. He's a sadist, and Lee J. Cobb lunges for him. It's just
Hmm.
that resolution of just the build, 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 and the climax, and then the fallout of it. I love
Yeah.
that scene.
Yeah. Also, another really good scene is when or the plot thread is about her and the horse. She has this horse that's 25 years old and she doesn't want to let it go. And she's really resentful of the brother who's trying to do the right thing by the horse because it's 25 years old. And I thought that all of that was really well done too.
It was a nice metaphor for what the movie
Mm,
was trying to go for because 25 years is a long time for a horse. I'm not a horse expert, but even I know I'm like, yeah, we got to make a hard choice here for the horse's sake.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, good. I'm glad that you liked it. It's like I said, it is a slow burn. There are parts that drag a little bit, but if you go for it, I think people will get something out of it. Do you remember where you watched that one?
I watched it on Canopy, like I said.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't hear that part. Good. All right. Well, what would you give it? 1 to 5.
I'd give it a 3.5. Like you said, it's a bit slow in places, but every step is methodical and it's thought out. So it's slow, but it's moving in a direction where, like, all right, I like what they're trying to go for.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, what is your next one?
So my next choice you gave me is from 2012. This was actually on Pluto TV. It's called How to Fall in Love, and this is from Hallmark. And this was surprisingly really good. I liked how sweet it was. I liked the characters. I find with Hallmark, if I like the people, then I usually like the movie, and I do
Mm-hmm.
like the people here,
Yeah.
especially the guy, because I
Yeah.
can kind of relate to him because it kind of flashes back to when he was in high school and to where he is now. As soon as I saw him and the instructor of the How to Fall in Love course, I'm like,
Mm.
yep, you two are becoming a thing by the end of this. And
Yeah.
I don't want to sound cynical or anything. I just kind of put two and two
Yeah.
together. But the road was very enjoyable. That's my point.
Exactly. Yeah, I love this movie. I think that it's one of the best that Hallmark's ever put out. I love the both the performances and I think that Harold is like a really lovely character. Eric maybe does such a good job with him and you really feel like he's wounded. He has wounds from high school and this Brooke Dorsey character is not innocent from the causing those wounds, which a lot of times in these kind of movies you'll have somebody coming from the city And they don't have that, there's not that like forgiveness element that's really in here that I think adds a layer of like she hurt him. And so I think that that adds a lot. And it also has some fun supporting performances like Kathy and Jimmy and you know, and I think the relationship between her and her sister, for a side supporting relationship, is actually pretty well done, because there's some forgiveness there as well, and also some resentment, of that. I think that this sister felt like she had to take care of her, and she kind of resents the fact that she lives this easygoing life. So there's some for a secondary relationship. I think it's pretty good, and yeah, it's one of my favorites. So I'm glad you liked it.
Is Kathy and Jimmy the waitress? Because I really enjoyed.
Yes,
Oh, okay, I was going to say
yeah,
I really enjoyed the waitress.
yeah, she's funny. It's a good script.
Yeah, the relationship between the main girl and the waitress I thought was very nice. I liked her attitude.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. So, oh, good. I'm so glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'd go 3.5. I did really enjoy this.
Yeah, cool. Good. All right. What next?
So next up, I chose 13 Going on 30. This is on Hoopla. And I think this might be among my favorite romance movies. And I've only seen it like just the other day as of this
Yeah.
recording. I love this cast. I love Jennifer Garner. Like, this was in the middle of her run on Alias. So Jennifer Garner was
Mhm.
like really on fire around this time. And then you got Mark Ruffalo. It's so crazy to see him so young in this because I'm so used to seeing him as kind of older in movies like the Avengers movies and Spotlight, among other things, and
Mhm.
Dark Waters, which I've recommended on this show before. But seeing him kind
Right.
of younger here was a little weird, but it was really nice. And I like the angle of these two being former high school friends, but she really wanted to be popular and left him in the dust. And there's a lot of hidden trauma and pain there. I like Judy Greer and I like the silent resentment between the two because they say they're friends when in reality they're not. And honestly, I said in my review, it's really more nuanced and kind of dark because if you really think about it, Jenna Rigg is not necessarily the greatest person in the world. It's heavily implied she's in an extramarital affair with someone who works for her, and I don't know if I should spoil what happens at the end. I won't.
Well, I mean, that's why when her 13-year-old self sees that, she's just kind of like, "What? I can't believe this is me," you know? So there's that that contrast.
Yeah, so it's that darker side that I really did appreciate because when she goes back to be like, I almost made an enormous mistake, and she basically like dumps the popular kids and realizes that Matt's been there the whole time. It was a very nice moment, and
Yeah.
seeing Andy Serkis in live action still surprises me, especially in this movie where he just has this horrendous dye job, like his hair is like jet black, his mustache and beard are jet black. It's so weird,
I
and
forgot
especially
he was
seeing
even
him
in
doing the
that.
especially seeing Gollum doing the Thriller dance
Yeah.
will never not be awesome for me.
But that whole scene is so fun.
It
It's
is. It
one
really
it's
is.
the highlight, one of the highlights of the movie.
Earlier in the scene where Jenna tells the editor of the Sparkle magazine, "Well, you're not a nice person." It's like I love that so much.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's fun because you've got all of these sort of tropes of romantic comedies, but also just sort of business, and you've got these fresh, innocent eyes looking at it. And I mean, a lot of people obviously compare this to Big, but I think I prefer this to Big because it doesn't get like, it's a little weird, the romance, I think, in Big, because in that movie it's not the same as this, where they know each other from childhood kind of a thing. It's like somebody that works for him. It's weird. But I really like, I mean it's fine, but I prefer this over Big. And you have such great chemistry between Jennifer Garner and Mark Ruffalo. Off the charts.
Yeah, it is really, really good. I love their love of Razzles, the kind of gum
Yes.
candy. I like that. I it threw me off a bit, like when the younger Jenna is watching the Rick Springfield video of Jesse's Girl. I'm like, wait a minute, what year does this take place again? And then I realized, oh yeah, late 80s. And then she flashes forward to 2004 in her sort of kind of dream. I forgot about
Mhm.
that. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I don't know if I'm too off the beaten path by comparing this. This kind of reminded me a little bit of The Wizard of Oz, if you really think about it.
I
Because
can
in
see that.
The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy Gale longs to go to a place where, it's beyond the rainbow. Then she
Yeah.
goes beyond the rainbow and realizes there's no place like home. And then she ends up at home again. And again, it's a dream sequence. So like she wakes up and it was all a dream. But in 13 going on 30, Jenna she was 13, she wanted to be 30. Then she became 30. She
Mm.
realizes the highs and the lows and was like, now I want to be 13 again. So you got to go forward to realize that you had a good in the back, if
Yeah,
that.
I can see that. I really like movies where there's sort of this alternate dimension. I mean, if you think something like Your Name, where they switch bodies in that one, but they end up being each other's reality. That's just like walking in someone else's shoes. And in case of Wizard of Oz, it's the fantasy world. But I really like that. It's just a magical thing. It's very cinematic, I think.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Mhm.
And I don't know if this director did much after this one, but if he didn't get much work afterwards, that would have been a shame. Gary Wynick, he ended up
Yeah, let
doing
me see.
He ended up doing a movie called Letters to Juliet, which I've always been intrigued to watch, and I don't know if it's any good.
Oh, let me see.
He also did a movie called Bride Wars starring Anne Hathaway and what's her
Oh, I
name?
hate that movie.
Oh, jeez.
It's terrible. He did Charlotte's Web. That's cute.
And Kate Hudson.
See, there we go. Well, he did a really, really cute romantic comedy. And this was 2004 was actually like 2004 to 2009. I think is part of the reason why we had such a, drought of romantic comedies for so long because there was a like period there where there were just almost all of them were terrible. So the fact that this one was good, I think says something. And yeah, and of course, you have Judy Greer in this, and she's such a mean girl. Like normally she's so likable.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's so weird, but I
yeah.
like that kind of low level of just as soon as she gets the chance, she's stabbing Jen in the back, full stop.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would you give this one 1 to 5?
I'd give this one a 4. This one is slowly like creeping into like
Yeah.
favorite romance movie territory for me. And I know I've
It's
still got a lot more to watch, but it's definitely up there in the favorites.
it's really, yeah, I agree. It's really good. All right, you have one more, I think, right?
Yep, my last one, it was Mr. Peabody and Sherman, one of the DreamWorks animated movies that I have yet to see until now, and I really enjoyed this one. And I love the animation style. I like the relationship between Mr. Peabody and Sherman, voiced by Ty Burrell and Max Charles, respectively. Uh, I like how I like how they just make J. Peabody into I am good at all the things. Like you just name it and he's just good. But at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, his fathering skills are just like that's the one thing he's just kind of needs work because he's excelled at literally everything else except for that.
Yeah,
I
and he's
thought that was
trying. He's really trying to be a good
oh no,
father.
he's
Yeah.
actively trying and the
Yeah.
movie does a good job of showing that. It's just like there's a great scene where Sherman's like, "I love you, Mr. Peabody," and Mr. Peabody's like, "I have a deep, I have deep feelings for you as well."
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah. It's
nicely
true.
done.
His transformation is really good. I think movie is so underrated. And the thing about it that I think wins it over for me is that I just think the script is very funny. And the animation is good. I enjoy it. It got the heart that you're talking about, but it's really just continually making me laugh when I watch it. Like it has so many funny lines. When I reviewed it for Rotoscope Earth, I spent most of my review just quoting lines. And I love when he says, and they say, and don't even get me started on Oedipus. Needless to say, you don't want to be at his house over the holidays. And then I like he says, in my opinion, they get married way too young in ancient Egypt, or perhaps I'm just some old Giza.
That was a good one. Yeah.
That's so
That
funny.
whole Egypt thing, because Penny, at first I was like, I was not a big fan of hers, and I'm sure that was by design, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, Sherman, you're a dog. You're a good little dog. I'm like, Penny, you need to like go away. Like I'm not a fan. And I'm sure that was the point, but
Yeah.
it just worked too well on me. But then when the
She
King Tut stuff happens, I'm like, bye Penny. F around and find out.
she's a little grating, but she did have, I thought, such a funny line when she says, "Can it go back to an hour ago because I could take it home, pretend to be sick, and not come to this lame dinner party."
That was a good one. Yes, I will
That's
give him
very
credit.
funny.
And
I also love when he says, "I was talking to the sun god Ra the other day, and he told me he changed his mind. Old flip flop Ra, we call him in the underworld."
oh my,
uh, it's just funny. It's a funny movie.
yeah, it's among DreamWorks' more
Yeah.
underrated films. I can't wait when Jacob Martin and I talk about it on discussing DreamWorks when we get to that one.
Yeah. You have Marie Antoinette. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah,
Eat it.
whoever decided to cast Patrick Warburton as Agamemnon, I hope they got a raise because that was such a good choice.
All the casting is really funny, and I mean, just everything about it's funny. I think it's hilarious, and like you were saying, it does have that heart. I think Ty Burrell is absolutely great in this. His vocal performance is so good as Mr. Peabody, and I like when he's like, "Oi, again with the plagues. Why did we move to Egypt again?"
Yeah, that one was a bit weird. I was like, wait, what?
And then I like when he's like, "Mr. Peabody, I hate her. Every relationship starts from a point of conflict and evolves into something richer."
Like, no, it does.
So I know that people like I've wanted to review this on underrated animation, me and Stanford, but he didn't like it because he's too attached to the original show. And so he didn't like it. So I haven't been able to convince him to do it, but I'm not that attached. I mean, I don't have anything against the original show, but I'm just, not that attached to it. So this sort of new take on it, I was fine with, and I just think the script was so funny. So I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, the Rocky and Bullwinkle stuff is not for everyone. You either get the joke or you don't.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, how do you think they translate? So have you seen the original show?
I've seen more of Rocky and Bullwinkle than Mr.
Mm.
Peabody and Sherman, so take it with a grain of salt, but I think it got the dynamic just about right. There's way more heart in this than in the show, though.
Mm. That's interesting. That's
Hmm.
interesting. Yeah, there really was. So if people haven't seen it, they should check it out. Which service did you say this was on?
This was on Peacock, where
On
most,
Peacock.
if not all, of DreamWorks' stuff lives.
Hmm. So if you haven't seen this one, give it a shot. It's actually really funny.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would you go 1 to 5?
I'd give this one another 4. I think it
Yes.
was very well done.
All right. Pretty good. No misses in
Yeah,
this
I'll
set.
take one Peabody and Sherman over 1,000 Boss Babies every day of the
Oh
week,
my gosh.
twice on Sunday.
Yes. Or trolls.
Oh, well, that's not horrible. Boss Baby is like bottom of the barrel. Trolls works for the audience they're going for.
I guess. Yeah, or like Home. I can't stand Home. Yeah, I thought it was terrible. So there's
Yeah, I like Jim Parsons. I'm a big fan of his, but even he couldn't save
yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, there we go. That's all 5 that you recommend. So now it's my turn. Maybe in April, but I'll be able to give me a couple of weeks and I'll be able to do it. Your recommendations, which are always fun. So let us know what you think if you're listening of these 5 movies. We would love to hear your thoughts and things we talked about. Please in the comment section or on Twitter. And Ryan, how can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and my YouTube channel at RyanCam20. My road to John Wick 4 concluded this past Sunday with my review for John Wick Chapter 3. I'll be seeing John Wick Chapter 4 this Friday. It's going to be a lot of fun because I have a rare Friday off, and I'm going to see the movie as soon as humanly possible, which is going to be 10 o'clock in the morning.
Nice.
So
Cool.
that's going to be a lot of fun. And then I'm also going to try and see Boston Strangler on Hulu, which is a movie that looks really interesting. I hope it's really good, and so have a review up for
Yeah.
that. And then
Cool.
other down the road projects, I'm going to be having a road to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I'm going to cover all the Spider-Man movies I've yet to cover, so that's going to be fun. But that's a little bit down the road. Scary Mania is coming down the road. Chris Mania is coming down the road. A lot of stuff coming to the channel. So if you have not checked me out, please do.
Cool. Yeah, you all should definitely check it out. And I have this will have already aired, but I'm starting a I had on Wednesday an introduction to new series starting on my channel where we're going to be talking about Schmigadoon. And we covered Schmigadoon season 1, 2 of my theater friends. So that's gonna be fun. And then once the new season starts, we're gonna be recapping the episodes for season 2. Chicago is coming and I can't wait. So that's going to be really fun. And we are going to also be having classic musical month for family movie night in April, like we did. And then Muppet May is coming up in May, obviously. And so that's always fun. So lots of good stuff to look forward to on the channel. Of course, there's always good stuff over at Hallmarkies Podcast as well. So make sure you check that out. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. We really, really, really appreciate it. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And we'll put in the description the playlist for all the Hidden Gems episodes. Definitely check that out. And then also check out the Patreon. It seems like I'm always talking to people and they don't know what the Patreon is. But I feel like I talk about it so much, but I think it's, you get your biggest bang for your buck of any Patreon I've seen. We have monthly watch alongs. We have every week there's exclusive reviews just for the patrons in the AFI Passions project that I do. And you can request reviews. You can be a guest on the podcast depending on the tiers. So please take a look at that. I would really, really appreciate it. And then we also have the merch store, which has tons of fun design. So take a look at that. And thanks so much. And yeah, we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Bye.